So let's talk syllabus. Everyone does it on the first day of class, and the reason why is it's an incredibly important document. For you as the student, you're like, oh, it's a syllabus, blah, blah, blah. For the professor, this is like the law of the land, and is one of the most important documents. It literally takes me weeks to build a syllabus. One, because I procrastinate a lot and I work 5 minutes at a time, but also because I want to make sure I cover everything that is important in the course, as well as to make sure that all my policies are clear and that if you have a question, you have a document to come back to. With that said, if you have a question, you have a document to come back to. And again, louder for those in the back. If you have a question, this is a document to go to. I try to answer everything, especially grading related, in this document. And this will be up and available to you all semester long. So let me go through some of the highlights of this. And again, you can take the time to actually read through it later on. So here's our course information. This is an entirely online course. This is the course description. Essentially, you're going to learn about the environment. You do need to have taken English, or at least be good enough to take English, and certain math levels. You can take this with the lab to fulfill the natural science with lab distribution. You can also not take the lab and it fills natural science without a lab. And I talk about that in the course introduction. Here's my information. So my name, my office, if you ever do want to visit me in person, my email. As an important note, and this is not just for me, but for all MC professors and people at MC, is that you need to email me from your MC account. We cannot talk about grades or anything like that to anyone except you, and the way to ensure that is by emailing from your MC account. If your mom's emailing me from imacoolmom@gmail.com, I can't respond to that. And if your email is imacoolmom@gmail.com, my name's Casey, I don't know that. So imperative that you email from your MC email. If you do want to visit me on campus, here are my actual designated office hours, but I'm here a lot, so just send me an email. If you want to call me, this is my office number. If I don't answer, leave a voicemail. The voicemail will obviously save on my phone, but our system also emails it to me. So even if I'm not in the office, or I might not be in the office for a while, I can listen to your voicemail on my email, and then if you're like, hey, please call me, I don't want to email about this, then I can just call you back from my personal phone. So course materials. I do not use a textbook in this course. I don't like textbooks because they're way too expensive. Science textbooks are way too expensive. You guys are taking this as a general education course. And I'm not saying textbooks aren't important, but as an environmental science class, a lot of information I'm actually getting from the internet, particularly from government websites, from the EPA, from the USGS, organizations that are actually measuring environmental damage. So although there isn't a textbook, I will have links to different sources that you can view if you want to. But my tests, my homework, my assignments, everything is based on things I literally said to you in a lecture video. So I'm not going to be like, hey, read this chapter. I'll ask you questions that I never even talked about. I don't do that. So again, no textbook, nothing you need to purchase. Obviously, as an internet course and an online course, you need access to the internet. There is a project that is going to ask for photos and videos. So you need something that takes photos and videos. A cell phone is totally fine. Or if you have a nice digital camera, go for that too. But just letting you know that is an expectation. Also with one of those projects, it does require that you have social media. This is not because of me. This is because of this project, which is actually done through an outside partner. You'll learn more about that in that project video, but just letting you know it is a thing. You will need a social media account, preferably Instagram. That's what this website and this project is going to use the most of, but you can use Facebook or Twitter. I'm not going to be checking it. You'll have to submit screenshots that you did something on that social media. If you don't have social media, just make an account. You don't have to actively use it. You don't need to follow people or find people. Just make one so you have one. Yeah. And then finally, there will be some calculations in this class. I recommend a calculator. Yes, you can use your phone, and that's not a problem, but some students find having just like a calculator in front of them is a little more helpful. You don't need anything fancy. You really just need like addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. But if you have like a fancy graphing calculator, that is fine, but you really don't need that. Here's the course outcomes. Here's what you're going to learn. In the course introduction video, we talk about these, so that's where I got them from. So what are you getting graded on in this course? There's a couple of different things. One, what I call big quizzes. The reason I call them a big quiz is that units are only 2 or 3 weeks long. They don't have that much material, as opposed to an actual test, which typically in my courses are every 3 to 4 weeks. They're also not worth 100 points. They're only worth 70 points. There are 5 of them during the semester, and then there's going to be a final exam, so technically there's 6 of them. I know that sounds like a lot, but again, they're shorter. They don't have as much material on them. They're also open book. Although they're open book, they are timed, and if you don't study, you're not going to finish and you'll end up failing. I'll talk about that more as we get closer. Just letting you know, makeup policy. So I'll leave the test open for 2 days. If you completely forget, that's it. There's no going back and redoing it. You get a 0. However, I do drop the lowest exam. So let's say you miss it, you get a 0. That should hopefully be your only 0. You've missed that exam, and so it gets dropped. So no harm, no foul. If you don't miss any exams, so you don't have a 0, no matter what, the lowest exam gets dropped. So maybe you did an exam, you got a C on it, it's kind of bringing your grade down. At the end of the semester, that C can be dropped. Likewise, and I'll explain this more at the end of the semester, is that you've taken the first 5 exams, and it's time for the final exam. If you like your grade in the course, you can choose to not take the final exam. You get a 0 for the final exam, but the 0 drops. So just letting you know that that policy is for any of the big quizzes, including the final exam. There's 2 major projects in this course. There will be separate videos that introduce those courses, but basically, the first one is the Project Green Challenge. This is the project that requires social media, videos, and photos. This is through an outside company. This is a competition that goes on every year in October. Now, this Project Green Challenge is very similar to something I have done in my course, which is doing different environmentally friendly actions. This time, instead of me kind of assigning the projects, this website, this company is doing it. And one of the reasons I'm doing this is 1, it's kind of less work for me, but 2, they actually have daily challenges where you and your team can win prizes, and they have a grand prize where you win a trip to San Francisco. I'm not going to do that, but this company is. So I'm kind of taking the things that you're doing for them, I'm going to grade them for a grade in my class, and then maybe you'll win some awesome stuff through them. In total, this project is worth 200 points. You will be in a team. However, each person in the team is doing their own challenges. So you're not actively working with people. It's kind of a passive process. Yes, you will be communicating with them, but really not that much, and it's not that crucial. The biggest thing is just that you guys will be creating a video at the end of the project, so you'll be wanting to record videos along the way, and then at the end it should be pretty easy to just put those all together. So that's the first project. The second project is the Environmental Controversy Project. This is your more stereotypical project that you would see in a class. It's a research paper, just 2 pages, that is on an environmental controversy of your choice. And I'll give you a list of choices if you're like, well, I don't know. I'll help you with that. It's going to include writing the paper and some smaller things like analyzing your topic, writing a summary about it. Most weeks there'll be a quick quiz. That's just looking at the lecture material. There are, I believe, 8 of them. They're each worth 5 points, and the lowest one gets dropped at the end of the semester. So again, if you forget to do one, you get a 0. There's no exceptions to that, but it gets dropped. There will be a discussion board during the second week of class. That'll be worth 30 points, and that's just a way to introduce yourself as well as a small little assignment. One last thing that I want to point out. So with the tests and the quick quizzes, at the deadline, they close. Blackboard just prevents you from opening them. However, with assignments like your paper, you can turn them in, and Blackboard can technically let you turn them in late. But me as a person grading things, I don't like late work. It makes my life harder. So I do want to share this makeup policy that is explained here, but I just want to explain it to you in person. So I'll have a deadline. Most of my deadlines are Friday at 9 a.m. and that's mainly because that's when I start grading. So for example, you're turning in this paper or you're turning in one of your challenges for the Project Green Challenge project, and it's due Friday at 9 a.m. You can still turn in that assignment after Friday at 9 a.m. You can turn it in at 10 a.m. No penalty, except if I have graded the entire course. So what that means is that at Friday at 9 a.m. that might be when I start grading, or if people turned it in early, I might start grading sooner. But let's say I finish grading everyone at 11 a.m. Well, you turn yours in at 10, technically late, but it doesn't matter, right? I hadn't even finished grading anyway. If you have it turned in before I finish grading, so at that particular day it happened to be at 11, you're fine, no penalty, that's great. But at 11 a.m. when I finish grading, I'm going to look through, and if there's people who haven't submitted the assignment, I'm just giving them a 0, and that's it. After you have that 0, there's no going back and turning it in. That is me telling you I am done grading this assignment. If you didn't turn it in, that sucks. You get a 0. There's no makeups. There's no like 20% off or anything. It's just that's it. If you turn it in before I finish grading, then you're fine. So what I recommend to you though is if I say deadline is Friday at 9, turn it in Friday by 9 and you are guaranteed to get the full points. Maybe I started grading early and everyone's turning it in early. I might be done grading at 9:15. So don't gamble, be like, well, do I think it'll take her like 5 hours to grade everything? You will be surprised at how quickly I can grade. But I'm letting you know there is that cushion. Just how big that cushion is really depends on how fast I am at grading that day and how quickly things are being turned in. The biggest thing for you to know, if you're going to turn in something late, look at your grades first. If I have given you a 0, you have a 0. You turn it in late, I'm not going to grade it, I'm not going to read it, I'm not going to do anything. It is a 0. So if you're going to turn something in late, look at your grades first. I don't want you to get mad at me and be like, well, I did turn it in. I'm like, yeah, I already gave you a 0 though. So I don't do this to be mean. I do this honestly for my own peace of mind, to make sure that I'm getting everything out. I finished this, grading this assignment. All right, now I'm going to work on another class and grading something else. I teach 6 different classes, so it's a lot for me to keep up with. So that's why I do it. All right, so those are all the assignments. Something I want to point out to you, although the big quizzes are worth the most amount of points, they're worth about half of the class. So you can ace all of these big quizzes and still fail the class. This actual applied work, you actually doing something that shows that you understand the material, these projects, these small quizzes, these discussion boards, they are worth the other half of this class. So, as I said before, this is not a passive class. This is a very active class. So you really, really need to be putting in your effort, not just, oh, let me watch the lecture, let me study, let me take a test, but actually like do the other work in the class. File formats, I don't have a Mac. I cannot open up Pages. I cannot open up the other programs. So very important that you are submitting in the file format that the instructions say. If you don't, I'm going to take off a 10% deduction, and that's because I have to then scour the internet, find a converter to convert whatever document you just gave me into something else. If I can't open it at all, then I can't grade it, so I'll just give you a 0. But if I can convert it, then I'll just take off a penalty, and that's because my time is literally like so thin because I'm grading so much and for so many classes. So this is just something that helps me out, and plus you can get Microsoft Office for free through MC. So you definitely have the means to make sure that you're turning in assignments into the correct form. The grading scale, I do give everyone a half-point curve. So this is what you can expect at the end of the semester. Outside of that, I don't bump you up. I bump everyone a half point. If a half point doesn't get it for you, I'm sorry. Here's all the student information that you're used to. Here's important dates. So this is things like When can you get a withdrawal by? When can you, drop and get a full refund? So these are posted in case you need them. If you do want to withdraw from the class or anything like that, please let me know. I can help, not just with the process, but also actually give you advice, whether you should, whether you shouldn't, whether you should stick it out, what can happen with your grade. So just at least talk to me beforehand, because you might be withdrawing when you don't actually need to be. And then finally, on the last page is the course schedule. I stick to this unless it's an emergency. Because this is an online course, we really don't have to worry about snow days or weather days or anything because it's online. So just be wary of that. You will see these deadlines in each weekly folder. When I say it's week 1, that's week 1, the week of August 27th, or week 9 is October 22nd, and here's the topics we'll cover, and here's the things that will be due. So again, this I would actually highly recommend, if you don't print out the whole syllabus, at least print out this course schedule. This shows you what deadlines are, when those big quizzes will be open, the deadline Friday at 9 a.m. unless I've said otherwise in here. So this is a really, really great guide, and again, it's really not going to change. If it does change, I'll send an email and let you know, but this is pretty set in stone what we'll be covering and what we'll be doing. So with that, that's pretty much the entire syllabus. You'll have access to it all semester. If you have any questions, first take a look at this document. If you still have a question, please email me and I'll definitely help you out with it.